Hi everyone. In this lesson we are going to discuss inferences, conclusions, and generalizations. Our purpose. By the end of this lesson, students should be able to explain what inferences, conclusions, and generalizations are, and you should be able to use clues in the text to make inferences, conclusions, and generalizations. This is probably one of the most important lessons to learn for the keystone, because almost every question that they ask you is going to require you to make an inference, a conclusion, or a generalization. So pay close attention to this. So what are inferences and conclusions? They're often used interchangeably, these two terms. When you make inferences or draw conclusions, you make guesses about things not directly stated in the passage. So you kind of use context clues in the passage to make an educated guess. You use details provided by the author along with what you know of real life to make inferences and conclusions. The author of a passage may not tell you everything directly. Some authors show something by using specific details. You should use details as clues to help you figure things out. So here's an example of an inference or conclusion. Imagine that you are in a lobby of a building that does not have windows. You see people walking in with damp clothes. Some people are wiping water off their glasses. Some people have squeaky shoes that leave watery footprints. You should know that it's raining outside, even though no one has told you it was raining. Why? You can tell from the evidence around you. So you don't need someone to tell you if it's raining if you see the umbrellas, if you see the wet footprints, if you see people looking damp and wiping water off their glasses. You're able to use those details, those clues, to make an educated guess about the weather. So we do this on a day-to-day basis. Imagine that you want to ask your parents for something important. You want a new cell phone, or you want to ask them to go out late on a weekday or something. You want to make sure that you ask them at the proper time, right? You want to make sure they're in a good mood. So you can make inferences or draw conclusions about their mood based on their behavior. If your parents, come in, they, stomping, throw their stuff down, they're groaning, they're snapping, you can probably infer that they've had a tough day. And therefore, you can make the educated guess that this may not be the best time to ask them for something. You might want to wait a little bit. So right there, you've made an inference. You have drawn a conclusion based on evidence that you've observed. So that's all that this is. We're just doing it with reading now instead of just in life. Here are some examples of inferential questions. So these are the types of questions you might see on the keystone. And this should just clue you in that they're looking for you to make that educated guess based on clues or details from the passage. If they say something like, it can be inferred from the passage that, again, they want you to look at the passage for details and make a guess. Which of the following can be inferred? So they give you a list of, possible things, possible guesses, and you have to figure out which of these is supported by details from the passage. The author implies that. So what is the author suggesting? They're not saying it outright, but you can use the clues to figure it out. The passage as a whole suggests that, like I said, you just have to read the whole passage. What do the details seem to lead to? And it can be concluded that, like I said, they're looking for you to make an educated guess based on what you've read. The key word is educated. You're not just making a random guess, you're using evidence that you could say supports your guess. So if people say, well, how did you come up with that? You can point, well, I saw this and that and the other thing. And then they go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Here are some tips to making inferences. One, most importantly, you should always do this, read the passage carefully. Pay attention to all those little details that they're telling you. There's a reason why they're telling you those things. Look for details that describe a place or event. Based on real life, what do those details tell you? So you're going to use those details in the passage and then Use your own experience. Use your own common sense. What does that usually mean? Look for facts given in a nonfiction passage. So when you're reading something truthful based on fact, look at those facts they mention. Ask yourself, what do these facts mean overall? What do the facts tell me about the subject? Analyze the way the author discusses and describes the topic. And to analyze just means to think closely and to examine closely. What can you tell about the author from his or her writing? How does the author probably feel about the topic? This goes along with tone. How does the author feel about what they're writing about? You can figure that out based on the details and what they actually say. And then make an inference or conclusion about something in the passage. Find the details that led you to that conclusion. If you're going to make an inference or a conclusion, you should then be able to pick out the details from the passage that you used to make that inference or conclusion. And now, what are generalizations? A generalization is a general rule drawn from looking at facts and figuring out what they have in common. In a generalization, a reasoning is formulated about something specific, where some observations are made and then conclusions are drawn concerning the larger category of that specific instance. If a generalization is valid, meaning it's correct, it is well supported by facts, evidence, and logic. If a generalization is invalid, it's wrong, it is not supported. So basically, we make generalizations all the time. Basically, it's, looking at things and then, trying to see what they have in common. What could you say about all dogs? All dogs have fur. That's a generalization I've made. All children are bratty. That's a generalization I've made. Now, if you've noticed, some generalizations are true. As far as I know, all dogs have fur. Maybe there's some that don't. But some generalizations could be invalid. They could be wrong. Like all kids are bratty. That's not. I know kids who aren't really bratty. Sometimes it may seem like all kids are bratty. I could probably say that all kids get bratty sometimes. But so you have to be careful with generalizations, right? Think about it. Some people who are prejudiced make generalization about a certain group of people. They may say all women are bad drivers. That's a generalization, and it's wrong. All white people do this. All white people like country music. That's a generalization. And it's another wrong one, right? There are plenty of white people who do not like country music. So here's some other examples. All ducks we've seen have feathers. Therefore, it is likely that all ducks have feathers. That's a generalization. I've taken a look at the evidence I see, and I'm going to make a type of rule. My rule is all ducks have feathers. Here's another one. Read this passage. George prefers to use back roads to drive around the Monroeville Mall area. He often makes it to the mall much quicker by taking Monroeville Road to James Street than by driving on William Penn Highway, even though the routes are about the same distance from his house. He rarely gets caught in heavy traffic on his alternate route. So based on the evidence there, what are some generalizations we can make? Here's one. Based on this text, one could generalize that William Penn Highway is often too crowded. The generalization is demonstrated by the fact that George does not get caught in traffic on the back roads and is able to make his trip more quickly. So that's a generalization, that William Penn Highway is often too crowded. Here's another one. A katana is a samurai sword. Therefore, it is likely that all samurai swords are katanas. That's a generalization I could make. All samurai swords are katanas. However, this generalization is invalid. It's not right. Katana are the main type of samurai swords, but there are several others. A katana is a long sword, and the wakizashi, a short sword, is just one other type of swords used by the samurai. So you can see here that some generalizations are valid. They're based on facts, and they seem to be, pretty again, just pretty right. But some generalizations can be completely wrong. So that's this type of question that they might ask you on the Keystone. They might give you a generalization and ask you if it's right or not. Or they might ask you to make a generalization based on what you've read. Tips for making generalizations. You can make use qualifying to make generalizations more accurate. One way to make qualified statements is by asking a lot of questions to narrow down a generalization. So ask yourself questions about a subject first. For example, begin with the statement, snakes are harmful. That is an invalid generalization because it's too broad to be true. Really, all snakes are harmful? Can you really make that blanket statement over everything? So then use the following questions to qualify it. Are all snakes harmful? From my personal experience, I know some types of snakes that are not harmful. Are most snakes harmful? Again, I don't think I would say most. Are many snakes harmful? Maybe. I might have to look up a little bit more information to see, the percentage of harmful snakes out of all the snakes in the world. Are some snakes harmful? I can say that this one's true. There are some types of snakes, like rattlesnakes and cobras, and I think corn snakes, that are harmful. Either, they're venomous or they're very strong. Are a few snakes harmful? Yeah, I would say so. Do you know all about snakes? Do I know about all snakes? No, I don't. So before I make the generalization, I should probably even get more information. So is the statement snakes are harmful true? No, snakes are harmful would be false. Because I've already shown that I at least know that there are some types of snakes that are not harmful. Like garter snakes. So before I make any sort of generalization, I would probably want to do more research about snakes to find out the truth. All right, so we've talked about inferences, conclusions, and generalizations, and hopefully you would be able to explain them at this point. We've also used clues in the text to make inferences, conclusions, and generalizations, and this is something that you want to practice as you're reading. And as always, don't forget to ask me questions, and don't wait until the end of the pod to do so, please. If you need help, contact me. Email, BBIM, phone. All right. Hope you have a great day. Bye.